Welcome to the Simple Minds podcast, where we look to empower and encourage real conversation amongst men everywhere by unpacking topics on self-help, philosophy, and business.
Welcome to the Simple Minds podcast. I'm Conrad Francis. I'm joined today by three distinguished gentlemen. I use that term very loosely. Magic Matt Hannum.
Oh, hi, Conrad.
Justin Bourne.
What's up?
And Travis.
Hey.
Well, don't wait to be introduced, buddy.
He didn't.
He shoved his face full of pizza. Gentlemen, today, I'll get the drink out of the way real quickly. I've got to learn how to say it. It's from Chile. It's a Sauvignon Blanc, barrel fermented. Amena, 2008. Looks a gem.
What's it retail for?
A lot. Let's have a try.
150, 20. Cheers.
Salute. Oh, fuck, that's spectacular.
That is good, isn't it?
It's nice.
It's quite yellow in look, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't normally drink
Or
a
is that
white.
just the light in here.
Maybe the light.
It's not the white that you normally buy at the shop.
This
No,
is
it's,
nice.
it's a good one. See, look.
I'll have two. I'll have two bottles. Please.
Wow.
We've been spoiling people today.
There's no
I'm not joking.
there's no sort of aftertaste really to it, does it?
It's really good.
It's been quite a powerful couple of weeks.
I didn't know a white could taste that good.
You're 30, mate. That's the difference.
That's what it is. I ticked that line, that date line.
Gentlemen, we're gonna delve into a piece of content which I came across on a recent vacay. I was listening to a podcast, YouTube, of a yogi master by the name of Sadhguru, and he posed a question to a group of people in what they call the Youth and Truth Forum in the US, and the question was, how many people would follow Jesus today? Now, those that know the story of Jesus, I'm a Catholic. Matt, I'm speaking for you, but so are you. Justin and Travis, not so much. The teachings of the Christian Church would have you believe that there is a second coming of a Messiah or Jesus at some stage, and there are some people that have said that, and Sadhguru said that, or suggested that some people, there's a sect in the US that believe that that Jesus will reappear or come to this planet again in the US. Aside from the spiritual or the religious connotation of the revisiting to the planet of someone like a prophet like Jesus, the issue that raised was how many people would actually be able to follow somebody of his caliber if he was to turn up. Jesus Christ was followed by 12 people, his disciples, when he was originally on planet Earth. And of those 12 disciples, as the story goes, one of them betrayed him and then he got crucified. So literally had 11 followers when he first came to the planet 2,000 odd years ago.
It's a pretty crappy Facebook page, isn't it?
Pretty terrible follow, yeah. From a following, I think I've got him beat already. But
You've got him beat with your 11 burner accounts that you have just to comment on all your posts.
Well, as funny as that is, it does pose a very interesting question, right? I mean, and without the religious take on it, because I don't want the religious hate mail that's going to come on the back end of something like this if it ever got out. The question that I posed to the friends I was with on the vacation was exactly that. Was, if someone like Jesus or someone who you admired or an opportunity that presented itself became available and you saw it, would you be able to follow it or him or her in your current state? And strangely enough, there was a hell of a lot of reflection, a hell of a lot of silence, and a lot of people got to the point where they didn't think they could. And if that's the case, what kind of life are we living? And that was probably the largest part of my reflection is, what is the life I'm living? Am I living a life that would allow me to take the opportunity that I would love to have taken i.e. following someone like a Jesus Christ, if that's what presented itself, am I in a position to be able to do that? And I was the only one that said I probably could. And to me, and there was some very successful people around me over the holidays, and but that got me thinking about lots of different things. What defines success, and why are we in a world which ties us to a financial construct of owing a bank money or paying something somewhere on a responsibility level that detracts us from looking at and taking the opportunities that present themselves. Did you guys watch the video? It's only 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, sorry, just to add some additional context. So Sadhguru suggested that majority of people wouldn't be able to uproot and move because they're tied down through mortgages, finances, job.
Yeah, what they owe to the banks, yeah. Yeah.
Not so much jobs. I think it was more around like beyond your job, the 30-year mortgage, other major commitments that wouldn't allow them the freedom to make an adjustment, like a major adjustment in
We're
life.
stuck in our own arrangements,
Yeah.
I think the wording he used.
So, say for example, more catastrophically, like our country just all of a sudden end up with a huge problem and we all needed to leave. Aside from that, like we don't have that ability to move without some pretty significant ties.
Yeah, so what do we do? I mean, are we really setting ourselves up to succeed?
What if we're tying ourselves down that dramatically?
Yeah.
Well, no, we're not. In the simple answer.
So then, what needs to be? I mean, I guess. I mean, I asked this question. I mean, I know the answer clearly because of the way I live my life from a point of giving myself as much freedom as possible.
Clearly.
Well,
Clearly, I know the answer. Listen to the language.
the Almighty.
I have all the answers.
They say that there's a second awakening and it's already here,
Right,
people.
but I am awakened. Duh.
I did say I wanted to be a prophet.
Sadhguru said a USA or Israel, but Conrad firmly believes Perth, Western Australia.
Hey, USA Francis.
Listen to what I'm saying, you muppets.
Oh, now you got to insult us
look at
because
When I first went into business, my major concern was what I was earning. Okay, and so when I was leaving an organisation which was paying me a sum of money, I left to join or start a new business, which I needed the anchor of a base sum of money to substantiate the level of living I needed from a minimum perspective. And even in that perspective, in that space, that business failed. And so from that point in time, which was in my early 30s and to where I am now, I've been whittling away of what I believe I need to exist in this planet. And still a large amount of what I need to exist is, food, power. I don't have a mortgage, so I don't have an obligation to paying a mortgage. So all of those things to me, the simpler you live your life, the less money you need to earn, which gives you the ability to think more freely. And when I went into my first business, and I wasn't able to think as freely because I was more responsible for the finances about what I was taking, it failed. And what I learned is the less I focused on what I earned, the easier it became to think, to make the decisions to then go after what you really, really want. And it took a lot of learning to do that. But this question in itself gets you there real quickly.
Well, I guess it's that whole idea of the golden handcuffs, right? Mm-hmm. We pursue a high-paying job, we get that high-paying job, and then we fill the expenses.
Yeah, we fill the gap, right?
Fill the gap to meet the level of that high-paying job, and then we become attached to that lifestyle or those commitments, and people will get those $1 million plus mortgages, and then they can't take a step backwards because if they look, want to take a pay cut, well, they can't afford the lifestyle that they made, and then they don't want to say, then they don't, as we talked about in the last episode, they don't want to be seen as a failure, so they will live unhappily for the next 10 years or whatever until something bursts to justify the house that they bought.
Well, this ties ties really, really well into the last episode or last few episodes in the sense that, you can learn the easy way, the hard way, or through tragedy. Now, the easy way would be to ask yourself this type of question, right? If you are a practicing Catholic, then that would be an ideal question to ask yourself, because what do you show up in the church to do?
Frankly, this is the conversation we had yesterday about me and my business and other opportunities that were around. Like, what would it take to be able to be on the other side of the world for a while?
Yeah.
And are you structured so that you could take and follow that opportunity if it was there?
And that's the key crux of it, right? I mean, I don't want to delve into the Christian or the religious teaching here. I really want to talk about
maybe Jesus is going to the moon.
There's no moon. We're all in businesses here, and I'm going to challenge all three of you guys. And this is a big question: if the biggest opportunity, the opportunity of your dream showed up, are you in a position to take it?
No.
Have I started to make steps?
Not from the not apart from the option C, D, or whatever it is to walk away. So I could walk away. I could leave, and there would be an element of hope that everything would survive the right way, and it would to an extent. Whatever that looks like, I'm not sure, but it would. But not completely, no. Not without impacting it.
What needs to change?
It'd be better without me.
So what needs to change? Because, I mean, are we not then just chasing a fucking absolute fallacy?
I think first and foremost, which I've come to huge realization in the last 6 to 12 months, is understanding your finances and understanding how much you spend, what your lifestyle really needs to be, all those type of things, and understanding what that looks like and being realistic about it and understanding where you need to maybe cut back and live within your means. And I also feel like, which is I guess the common thread of the last few episodes, is you've got to work on that self-acceptance level. I think Hato said it very well on the last episode. If you haven't heard it, go check it out towards the back end, FYI. But is that you got to work on that self-acceptance and self-love, because that will enable you to not chase over things for the wrong reason. So like, it's so obvious to me, people around me buying houses and doing things because that's what's expected of them from society.
So Sadhguru talks about the construct that we give ourselves turns us into slaves.
Modern day slaves.
Modern day slaves. I mean, and I've used that term quite a lot with people.
Yeah, so what he said was slavery is definition of he cannot choose.
Yeah.
He one who cannot choose.
So in the absence of true choice, and then, putting yourselves in the realms of what.
Sorry, but that's modern day slavery, really, isn't it?
Well, it's slavery, full stop.
Yeah.
When you don't, I mean, whether it's modern day or past days, I mean, have we succumbed so much to following some level of false hope or imagination that we're free?
Well, the story that I liked he spoke about was the spider, and
oh fuck, that's gold.
As a spider,
he spins a web to capture something.
Yeah, but we're spinning a web and capturing ourselves.
So
you're a stupid spider, which is an incredible, short story that encapsulates exactly what he was, and you're trying to say right now.
And
just sorry, can I just cut in? So there's a lot of you that listening that are not from Australia, and in particular here.
Well, we got a few from India, and they'd know who this dude is.
Well, no, but I'm not talking about him, and a lot from the States. But it ties into a book that I think I've read the sort of summary before, but I read The Millionaire Next Door, and one of the things that came up when I was traveling is Millionaire Next Door. They do this, they do that. Typically, they own their own home. It's about $320,000 on average. And I was like, yeah, wow, because in Australia, the value of our primary, like a middle range property compared to the average income, the multiple is pretty extreme compared to a lot of places in the world on average. So we're talking about, because we live in Perth, and largely, let's say, what's an average income, Conrad? Like 70?
Household average income is about 75,000.
75,000, and a mid-range suburb around here is really at least 650.
400, I think, is still about the average.
400's the average. Well,
That's mortgage, right? So which means it's probably worth about
mortgage.
500 or 600.
Minimum.
Yep.
So like by comparison, sort of the cost of living, if we choose to be homeowners, is generally pretty high. And that's why a lot of people do that first homeowner thing, head to the outskirts, build a brand new house. But if you want to live
Travel 3 hours.
If you want to live in a middle class suburb, you're looking at 600-700 minimum just to get a start.
Yeah.
So the number's pretty high, in particular on the areas that we're talking about. And that's not, like, we're not New York by any stretch, but also there's a lot of places, for example, I know a lot of people listening from the States that would be in an area where they could buy a house for probably a pretty reasonable price compared to what rent would look like, and as a multiple of their income.
And I get all of that stuff, but I mean, I still sit with, and this is the challenge. I mean, what are we do if we can't take the biggest fucking opportunity? What are we fucking actually doing it for? And more importantly, what are we teaching people that are looking at us, be it our children, be it our family, be it our friends?
Because we're all slaves.
Well, it's obvious. We talked about it recently. It's the insecurities. It's the expectations of others. It's
easy to be a slave, right?
Yeah.
Clearly it is. Fucking hell. I mean, you walk into it.
It is
easier to be the sheep rather than the shepherd.
We've all watched the Matrix trilogy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, as we know, I mean, we are animals and we're tribal animals. And so we don't want to be excluded from the tribe. And if the tribe says that you should be buying a home, we're going to follow the tribe. And, our families are still big influences on who we become in society. I think it's evolving. It's changing slowly-ish. But it's super fascinating, I guess.
You sure?
To some degree, yes. But that's where I was leading that. I mean, I'm 30 and watching, I guess, whoa, now 3-0. Whoa. Late 20s. But even watching close colleagues of mine or friends follow down the same path of, go out and get a $700,000. Like now the mortgages, I know friends who have a $700,000 mortgage. I'm like,
yeah, I know.
Mine was bigger. My last one.
Oh, we're talking about mortgages here.
Now that is golden handcuffs. That's crazy.
Yeah, you think about how that does not let you think.
Sorry, but unless you do the work prior and put yourself in a position to purchase that home, I guess, isn't it?
Well, one of the challenges at the moment, and you'll probably agree with me here, is that in this current state, like I don't know whether that your parents would have talked about this or Conrad, you would have some exposure to it as well. But I think it was mid 80s or perhaps early 90s, interest rates got to like 18%. And whereas at the moment we're in a very low interest rate level at a Reserve Bank level, at a bank level, and then we still have significant amount of suburbs in mortgage stress. Whereas if they had to pay 18% or even anywhere near that, even 8 or 9%, they'd be crucified.
My parents just paid the percent off for years.
Yeah.
The numbers that I'm reading at the moment is that if Australia raised its interest rates by 0.2, 0.5 or 0.75, thereabouts, 75% of people with mortgages would be in mortgage stress. Right, that's cataclysmic.
75%.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is cataclysmic. That will crucify the property market.
And what's the Reserve Bank at? Like 2 less.
No, less than that. So 1%.
Yeah.
Slavery. He cannot choose.
Exactly right. But
well, I guess like if I can, and I think I remember we had a conversation over the Christmas break because I was doing my personal finances, which is
JB and I were working over the Christmas break.
Haven't done a lot.
I was fishing.
Haven't done a lot of that over the years, and it was crazy when you record all your expenses and everything to realize maybe where all the money goes, and the fact that you
had some massive revelations.
What I like to use, I like to use my financial advisor, Inspired Money. And I use their they have an app if you go find it, inspiredmoney.com.
There are also other apps. The pocketbook's not a bad one, but the fact is. Like
He doesn't use Pocketbook. But.
no,
he doesn't.
I was using their app. The point is like we've talked about. It's that whole idea of Alcoholics Anonymous. You got to acknowledge what's going on. When you realize how much you're spending, you're like, wow. Like,
But you have the information.
you got to have the information and you make a choice, I guess. And it's same with the business. And obviously with our group, we've encouraged everyone to have personal budgets. And obviously having your finances in order gives you a lot of mental freedom and capacity. And you can't make an adjustment until you acknowledge the truth. But I guess the biggest, like as you said, what is it where people get themselves into these situations? I mean, is it fear?
Again, reading listening to what he talks about and understanding how it made me feel, I would suggest fear is probably, I say fear, but it's probably even FOMO, fear of missing out. People go and get houses because they think houses aren't going to become unaffordable. Or they go out and do certain things because they feel like, well, shit, I've got to get a job now because I'm not going to get a job later. But what are you getting a job for, and what's it going to enable you to do? I don't think people look too far enough ahead to understand the why behind their decision making process.
I actually don't think it's even FOMO. I think it's FOPO.
What's that?
Fear of other people's opinions.
Oh, yeah, I think it could be. It's probably a bit of both. I mean, but fear leads both of those, right?
Yeah, sure. But I'm saying, like, it's not actually missing out. I think, especially when that, like, if you're talking about that mortgage, it's more about, like, oh, what are people going to say if I don't?
Yeah.
Or try driving a Nissan Micra.
Oh, mate, I could not. The way you drive that car, I mean, it's kind of like, it reminds me of a red Mustang with a beautiful woman in it.
Yeah. But
Go and get your eyes checked, brother.
That's why I didn't have my glasses on. I didn't say I had my glasses on.
I can honestly tell you that I've never seen a car like Travis's until Travis bought it.
No,
and now I see too many of them.
All it reminds me of, and I saw a few Nissan Micras.
true.
Nothing, they don't look like his. Your true story can come out in a minute. All it reminds me of is that big guy at the circus where he's driving around.
No shit.
Hanging out the window,
This is a true story. I was sitting at a job up in Joondalup, and I was sitting there, and it was like a concert for elderly people. And these two elderly ladies, they would have been in their 75, 80. They're walking past, and I was sitting in my car, and they obviously didn't realise I was sitting there and the window was cracked down. And they stopped, and they're like, oh, this is a really cute little car, isn't it? I should get one of these.
See, you're making one fundamental mistake, Hato. There's no sign writing on it. If you put sign writing on it, be like, oh, that's a great idea. Like, well done.
Sorry to hijack that.
But I guess the banter of this highlights the point of, I guess, what people are fearful of is the judgments of others, which is the FOPO piece. And the idea of sharing that story reminded me of a friend of ours' husband was talking to me when I first started my business. And this was like 2 years in. And look, I can't obviously comment because I drive my wife's Honda Jazz.
It is black.
It is black, which I'm grateful for.
Sleek Jazz.
And
Does it have mags?
No, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah,
I
don't
think
so.
Don't know.
Just
Standard rims.
Yeah, should upgrade.
And I don't know, for whatever reason, I don't know what conversation we're having. He goes, oh, he made a comment around like, do your clients see you rock up in the Jazz? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, oh, no, I'd be parking around the corner and like, making sure that no one saw it. And I thought that was just, I was like, that doesn't change the way that anyone's going to do business with me whatsoever. And it just really struck me as a really interesting statement and conversation.
So out of the four of us, if you bought all of our cars off us, you would have change from 20 grand.
I reckon you'd have change from 10. How much is yours worth?
Oh, I don't know, 5, 7.
Yeah, mine's worth 4.5, 5.
Okay.
Yeah, ours would be probably 2 or 3. It's a 2001, I think.
It's like
it's 2002.
That's about the recording gear.
That's hilarious.
That's the last 2 bottles of wine and spirits we've had.
But that's the thing, though. This really, really does. If we want to learn the easy way, these are the types of questions we can really pose to ourselves and to people around us. Now, you two obviously wouldn't use Jesus. Maddie and I might do it, but You know, if the biggest opportunity presented itself, why could you not take it? And fucking journal on that shit and figure that shit out, because the idea of that happening is very real. Very real.
Do you think if you do that and then realize that it is a faux pas piece, that you've got to then start having the tough conversations with people?
100%. I mean,
And we've got an episode of that, by the way.
yeah, I 100% agree with you. But again, you've got to be able to answer those questions before you can unlock the opportunity to see the opportunities. Okay, so again, do you get your driver's license before you practice? No, you don't.
It's profound.
All right, so if you sit with these things and allow your mind to go into these spaces, you'll start to see, well, shit, what do I need to learn, or how do I need to orchestrate, or learn the hard way, or learn through tragedy. You choose. But that question itself is, you know, I can't wait for my mum to get back from holidays, because I'm going to sit down with her over dinner one night and say, well, shit, mum, Jesus Christ popped up here today. What are you going to do?
Well, it's super interesting. So I've reflected before about how I've just come back from 3 weeks in the Pacific. Well,
you're an adult convert, right? You only got baptised when? A couple years ago?
Yeah, only a few years ago. So actually over 30, and did that largely for my kids and for those reasons. But
I respect that, by the way.
Yeah, and I made a decision, and I had to. It's difficult as an adult convert, and I haven't really spoken to other people about it. But I had to make a decision around what it meant to me, how I could change my thinking, or like my position on it all, and why. But you know, coming back from 3 weeks in the Pacific on a magical little island, 270 square kilometres with 1,500 people living on it. I mean, largely, if you put that picture up in your head of what it would be like to live in your own little paradise island, 90% of it would be ticked off, right? The people that live there do a bit of work, earn a bit of money here and there, but also do a lot of work with the family. They all own like family-based crops where they work together and harvest what they need. Someone will fish and they'll use fish. They have everything they want. And the irony is, and then the way their property works is they all are descendants of someone, and they all effectively have free family land that they own. They then gradually, over time, save some money and build their house and improve their house, and that's it. Now, they live in a space where, and they're incredibly religious. Sunday is still a genuine rest day. You're not allowed to.
Christianity? Catholicism?
There's a lot of Catholicism. There's some Seventh-day Adventists. There's a few different forms.
The islands would have had a
There's a lot of amazing churches built on the islands, but everyone is still highly religious. On Sunday, you can't swim and fish in the main areas of the island. It's a genuine rest day, and it's because it's respected like across the board. It's a great experience. Everyone has lunch with the family and has an afternoon nap and has a proper rest day compared to what we do here. But what I was reflecting on there is that they because of all of that, and even though they've got an abundance of wealth, really, of what we would all tend to call paradise and kind of the dream, they would be in a position to follow. They've got what they need. They don't overly value the material things, even though the material things are expensive there, because it's hard to get the little things out there, like a $50 this or that, or the bowl that they need, or a new barbecue. Those things are expensive compared to what we would pay for them, but nothing matters. Like when the boat doesn't come in on time and the islands run out of butter, no one cares. Whatever, it comes next week. So there's a lot we can learn from that.
Exactly right.
And they would be in a position. They would be in a position to follow if there was a reason to. And that's what we're talking about.
So is that your point, Conrad, to try to simplify your life and allow yourself the flexibility to, following Jesus is probably the extreme level of it, but allowing yourself the flexibility to take opportunities when they arise, rather than having to go to the bank and sell your house and unmortgage yourself to enable yourself to follow or create an opportunity that you've always wanted?
Well, selfishly, this share and the discussion was all about, largely the three of you guys. because it's a conversation that would have happened anyway. It would have happened anyway because of the reflection it gave me and the opportunity it gave me to have the conversation with the guys I was with and the value I got from that conversation and the opportunity to sit there and share with you guys and say, okay, well, fuck, I mean, what's it going to take to put you guys in a position to allow yourselves to take the opportunities you need to take when they present themselves? Because until you put yourselves in that position, you're not going to see them. They become real fucking hard and they're around, but they're hard to see.
Just a story on that in that regard. I think I mentioned to you, JB. Again, I was on the island, and at one point there was a bit of hectic sort of waves coming through, and we had the kids on this little sort of rock pool area, and we're holding them above the water, and then it settled down a little bit. And where we were walking around this reef area, I just put my snorkel on and popped my head underwater. Sea snakes, fish, all this amazing stuff, and we were just all existing in the same area. But at that point, I had no awareness of it until I popped my head right under it in the exact same, like, you know, tiny space there. And as you say, without being in a position to take action, you're not able to see the opportunities around you.
So how do we put ourselves in a better position to see and then take the opportunities?
I think we've got to be very clear that we are surrounded by opportunity. Simple as that. We are simply surrounded by opportunity. Let me share you a story, and then we'll come back to what this story teaches you guys. There's a story of a drowning man. Have you heard this story before?
Nope.
Okay. Yep. You've heard it, Matty?
Yep.
Some people share it as a joke. I mean, as a story, it's a joke. The story is about a drowning man. A man is drowning. He has no fear. Why? Well, this drowning man is very religious. God will save me, he says. A man in a canoe comes by and offers the drowning man a life jacket. He says, no thanks, God will save me. Then a helicopter comes overhead. The crew throws a ladder down to help save the drowning man, but again the man says, no thanks, God will save me. Finally, a person swims out to the drowning man to save him, and the man says, climb on my back, I will swim you ashore. Of course, the drowning man still refuses and says, no thanks, God will save me. And so the man that had come to save the drowning man returned to the shore. Sadly, the drowning man did drown. He went to heaven where he sees God. He says to God, I prayed every day and was a very religious man. I did everything the prayer books told me to do. So I ask you, why did you let me drown? Then God replied, I sent a canoe, a helicopter, and a man to bring you to shore, and you refused their help. I think we could all learn something from this story. I think because it tells me there is a plan for us all, and that we should always be prepared for the unexpected. We may rarely have the benefit of hindsight, but to understand what our plan really is. That's the question. I mean, that story there talks about that in itself. I mean, opportunities are around us and are always around us. But are we going to be open enough, humble enough, ready and prepared to take them? And if we're not, then what are we going to do to put us in that space? You know, what are the opportunities? What are the things, if they presented themselves, what are they going to be that are going to allow us to live the life that we truly want? And that's freedom, right? It is freedom. I mean, what's the opposite of slavery? It's being free. So if we are all slaves at the moment, what's going to allow us to be free? Forget financially free, but just free. Free to think, free to live, free to do, free to be the creative beings that we are, to live the lives that we choose to live. What's it going to take? Because if we're not in a position to do that now, then Hannah, we can talk about legacy. Are we truly living a life that people can live by or aspire to live?
No, we're not. I mean, look, doesn't mean elements of legacy won't exist, but no, the more and more that fear's in play, and I think that's what these things breed. These attachments, these, mortgages. And I'm not against debt by any means, but that's what the common.
But the issue with debt is it serving you or are you serving it?
That's right. And so like a mortgage on your home is really you serving it.
Yeah.
A mortgage for the right deal, like let's say margin lending on a quality stock portfolio that's making money, it's working for you.
Massively different. It should be different.
Yeah, so they're two very different things. So it's not debt or for example, that's a problem, but it's have you created these structures where you are forced to do to realize X, to survive X.
So what are the structures you've created? And this is the way you need to get to. What are the structures you've created that are giving you the thought processes and the behaviours that you're having to substantiate to live the life of a slave? And the undoing of that is the answer to where you free yourself.
Say that again.
What are the structures you've given yourself, i.e., I need to wear that suit, I need to have that job, I need to go to that school, I need to drive that car, I need to live in that house. I need to marry that woman, I need to travel this planet. Whatever the constructs you've given yourself, how are they serving you, or how is it disserving you? And if it's disserving you, how do you take back control?
Constructs not only as material aspects,
It's
items,
behaviours.
but more as well as emotional constructs as well.
Yeah, the inner work, the stuff that sits inside us that that has us feeling jealous if we're not driving that car, because that still happens to me.
Or getting jealous?
Yeah, of course I do. Even though I've made the decision not to, I still sit with that and think, well, shit, I want to drive that. I still have that thought. It doesn't sit with me long, but I still have that thought.
But then it's okay to have your, things that I guess you enjoy that aren't.
If it stops you from taking the opportunity that you need to take, then no, it doesn't serve you. That's a fallacy.
Well, I think you said it. It's doing all I come back to is what you were just saying is you've got to do the inner work on yourself, and you've got to delve inwards and look inwards to identify. Because I think even on that aspect of what you just said, there's nothing wrong with having that thought and being jealous.
No, right, exactly right.
There's by all means, that's okay, and that's going to happen. I think it's
the letting go of it.
Is understanding, well, why would I want that car?
Yeah.
And it's like if I want that nice car for the thrill of driving it, because in that moment when I'm driving, it's fucking phenomenal. That's okay. But if you're using it as a tool to try to validate who you are, and you go out to get a loan for $4,000 a month
100%.
and tie yourself down, then that's not going.
That's it.
That's not serving you.
That's it.
And that takes a lot of work, and that might be a 5-year journey for you. That might be a 10-year journey for you.
Might be longer, because if you've got these things already in place, that doesn't mean you can walk away from
I see it all the time, man. I see people coming to my office and saying, "Oh shit, I've just got a staff. I've just packaged up a motor vehicle." I'm thinking, why the fuck would you do that? Why would you package up a car? And I say this to clients, and they look at me like I'm a ghost. I'm thinking, you could package up putting money into your superannuation fund, where the money goes for your future. Oh, but it's a tax. Well, it's not a fucking tax deduction.
Still got to spend the money.
It's cost you money.
Yeah, when you can buy a little Nissan Micra.
Let's understand. The governments, and fuck this, right? The governments actually win when you work. We get that? We understand that, right? The governments win when you work. You pay taxes, you generate GST, all of that shit. The government needs you to fucking work. I'm saying to you, aim for being fucking free.
And I mean, it comes back to what we've talked about, even if you were going to start your own business and understanding why you're doing what you're doing. Because even then, you can build a business and be tied down with all the responsibility with it and hate it.
Yep.
You have 10 staff that you now have to pay every month that you're now tied to, and you fucking
if it gets you out, of the matrix, it gets you out of the matrix, right?
Gets you out of the matrix. Don't start that conversation.
Well, in the words of Mel Gibson, freedom.
Come on, I mean, but I'm massive on this at the moment. I am massive on this.
I did wonder why you wore that blue zinc.
Mel Gibson,
you idiot! I'm massive on this at the moment.
He wears blue zinc every day.
I'm challenging you three, right? I don't care if no one listens to this episode. I'm challenging you three.
Are you out?
You're challenging everyone that's listening to this as well.
If they're listening to this, I'm challenging anyone that's listening, but I've got you three here. This was a personal conversation. I said, well, let's put it on the mic. That's what it's about.
Are you out of the matrix?
I believe I am. I honestly believe I am. I don't own anything, man.
You own a nice bottle of wine.
You do, but
No, I don't.
you don't own a business. No, you don't own a business.
No.
Not technically,
His
no.
mum does.
Do you control a business?
Yeah, I do. but okay, so let me say this: if I sold everything today,
Yeah, you're right.
So if Jesus Christ appeared and I want to go hang out with the dude, I'm gone. I'm done.
But many people could
And it
sell.
wouldn't take me too fucking long to say yes.
You'd still be in the queue at the bank unless you had the priority line.
What bank? I don't fucking have anything to do with a bank.
No, but if you had to sell out,
I owe nothing to a bank.
or someone you buy,
You'd have to sell.
you'd
That
have to-
money would go to a bank.
No,
then
you
could
you'd
run
have
in
to
the
go to
meantime. I
bank,
could
get
still
the
go.
money
No,
out.
you'd have to
still
sell it
go.
to a bank. It's probably the only buyer.
But that's what I'm saying, guys. Like, it becomes a fucking freeing thought, and the decisions you can make from that space. Imagine stepping up. Any of you guys play? Well, we all play cricket growing up. Or, I mean, baseball's another analogy, right?
Actually, we should play cricket. That'd be a good idea.
Stepping up. Oh fuck no! I'll knock you out.
Good luck. You wouldn't be able to
Stepping
bowl
up
the
to
ball
stepping
anywhere
up,
near.
fucking knock you out.
I'll knock you out,
Stepping
mate.
up
That's not boxing,
and having
mate.
a free hit, at cricket. All right, you'd swing harder.
Always.
Always.
Well,
You-
watch the Big Bash. Like they get
so
a free
you,
hit.
So you
Yeah.
swing harder.
If you got nothing to lose,
Exactly
yeah.
right. And so when you set yourself up with nothing to lose,
And-
the decisions you can start making are fucking phenomenal.
And that's where, like, I think, which has been foremost in our proximity of challenging everyone to have budgets, and I'm definitely convert now, is that the mental freedom and the psychological, even the psychological freedom you have by knowing where all your numbers are at is just off the charts. And that's where, which didn't really talk about in the last episode, but we brought up the Medium post of Sahel Lavina, and he talked about running a business firstly without a profit. You know, you should
There's a section in there, know your numbers.
know your numbers. Always run a business at a profit. And in some respects, you should treat your personal life like a business. Run
In
it.
some respects, fuck.
Some
Every
respect.
It's
respect.
you,
In all
mate.
respect.
You are the business.
Run it as a profit.
You just haven't got the team yet underneath. You've
See,
already got
That's
the-
it.
Tony Robbins will tell you 80% of business success depends largely on the owner. On the owner, which means you, and Buffett over here, wherever he's gone.
But family success also is significantly improved when you treat it a little bit like a business.
Branson says, treat your business like a family, your family like a business. And there couldn't be a truer word spoken. Could not be a truer word spoken. How many people own fucking houses that they have just for fucking storage space? Yet we three know, or we four know, you wouldn't go any more than what you need to on a square meterage because you pay for the fucking air. But yet we'll go and get a 4x3. Why? Because, just in case someone wants to come and stay. Fuck them. Pay for their fucking lodging. It'll be cheaper than paying the interest.
It sure would, yeah. Put them up anywhere. Ritz-Carlton.
I don't, mate. I've got a small house. I don't entertain. If I want a big party, I'll go and rent a fucking place. It's cheaper.
Yeah, you can go rent a private jet and just have it sit on the tarmac for a couple of days and take some Instagram photos. Yeah.
It's cheaper. It is so freeing. Just treat your business like a family and your family like a business. You know, Richard Branson, I've sat with that for years and that's taught me so much.
I think at the end of it, though, like everything we talk about,
Well, your finances, you just reversed the whole conversation we had last year for a year. You've now just put into your family household.
yeah. But the other layer to it is that you've got to do the inner work to be comfortable with who you are and like learn to get over your insecurities, which is a journey in itself. It really is a journey in itself. Because
But we're always only ever compensating, JB.
sorry,
We're always only ever compensating. When
Yeah,
you figure
exactly.
when you figure out what you're compensating from,
if you've got to have, which is where you've got to get to the level of having the awareness, right?
yeah.
And you'll still make some mistakes. Like, I'm not saying, like, by all means, I've got it figured out. I'm going to make some fucking mistakes in the next couple
They'll
of
be
years.
different and they'll teach you different things.
No doubt. I'm going to buy shit that I shouldn't buy. But at least if you can have somewhat the awareness, you can make some maybe better choices. because we're all going to fuck up. We're all going to fail, right?
But as long as it's failing this way and not this way or this way.
So can't say
that's
that.
vertically.
Upwards, not horizontally. Sorry, I'm still getting used to this medium of
podcasting.
After 90 episodes, still getting used to it.
93 episodes or something ridiculous.
Oh, mate, I still don't watch TV, so I don't know what the fuck this is.
Don't have to use an iPad either.
So it's the start of the year. It's a conversation I want to have with you guys. It's a focus I want to give you to work on this year, the three of you, because I do have very, very in-depth conversations away from this podcast. But if the biggest decision, the biggest opportunity of your life presented itself, what are you doing right now to be able to take it? All right? And if there's nothing else you work on this year, that's the one I want you to sit with. But if you're working on a few other things, throw that one in the mix.
Reach out and have an in-depth conversation with one of us four. I love having conversations with different people about different stuff. So yeah, for sure.
Subscribe, like, share, comment. Don't throw things at your colleagues because it's not nice.
So the big question is, would you follow Jesus?
I fucking would. Why wouldn't you, man?
Nah, of course.
Jesus, Jesus. I'd follow Jesus.
Do not use the Lord's name in vain.
If you got in the proximity of people like Jesus Christ, I shouldn't swear.
But would you know it?
If he
Einstein
rose from the dead, you'd do it again, right?
Knowing how much I love literature and the teachings.
Was it all true?
If he appears again, I think he's validated it.
He already has.
I did say that I'll never be a married man because all prophets I know were never married. So that's the goal.
Who did you say it to?
A lot of married people.
All right. I think it's out of control.
All right, people.
Wrap this one up?
Yeah, thanks. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully we don't have to retitle this because the last time we talked about Jesus, no one wanted to put Jesus in the title. But thank you for entertaining the conversation. Hopefully I've left you three and maybe one other person who's listening with some thoughts. I really, really can't wait to see the results of an epic year from those that are listening and particularly you three around me. I really take a lot from what you guys do. So challenge is on.
Thank you and bye for now.
Cheers.
Peace.
Ciao.
Thanks for listening to the Simple Minds podcast. If you like our show and want to know more, then check out our website at simplemindspodcast.com. If you like, you can even leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or share this episode with a friend. The Simple Minds podcast is also on Facebook, Insta, and for those that like to keep things formal, LinkedIn. So follow us there if you want to keep up with the latest updates from the show. See you next week.